Righto guys, so it's time to see what's actually going on with this patrol. So the person I bought it off, he's a mechanic, and he sort of just got sick of trying to get it running or try and get it to stay running, and that's how I ended up buying it, and that's how we ended up with it at a fairly good price. So he just didn't really have time for it, he just wanted to move it on. He reckons it was doing this thing where it starts and runs, but doesn't do it all the time, and doesn't really want to stay running. So at the moment, I believe the battery is just absolutely dead flat. I can't even get any power. So we've got another battery here and some jumper leads. We're going to power this thing up, see if we can get it started, and we're going to get our scan tool onto it and see if we can diagnose exactly what it's doing and what the issue is. Yeah, as you can see, absolutely dead. Completely dead battery. So let's get some power on it first. Righto, bit of juice. Let's have a look. Oh, look at that, we've got some power. Yeehaw! Alright, so first things first, let's just see if it'll start. It's in park, we're good to go. Still a bit lazy. She's still a bit sad even with that battery. Might need to bring another car in and properly jump it.
Try one more time. Nearly.
Close. Oof. Alright, so I've just switched. This car is dual fuel, it's got LPG as well, and I believe that I've just turned this on to LPG, and after I did that it did crank over and start, and it's now running, which obviously would then lead me to believe that it's an issue with the fuel system, whether it be pump.
That's what I was just thinking, I wonder if the problem could be
pump, filter, injectors, something. So I'm pretty sure that's an LPG. I'll just confirm that that's the way that that controller works, but I believe it is. So we'll confirm that, but she's purring along. Well, now that it's running, I'm just gonna try and switch it back to what I believe is petrol from LPG, and we'll see what it does when I do that. So. Seems to be okay now.
Yep. Definitely, I reckon you're right.
We've definitely got an engine light on though.
That seems to be
so.
fuel. That would be petrol, and the other way should be gas. I would imagine.
That's how I make sense
like
of the controller.
That would be a petrol Bowser, wouldn't it?
You'd think so.
Yeah.
That's my assumption. But hey, even on petrol now, it seems to be running fine. So, gonna leave it running.
Your new fandangled scan tool, and
that's it. Gonna grab our scan tool. We've got an engine light, so let's see what the scan tool spits out at us. Hopefully it can give us a really good idea of what's actually going on with this thing. So we've got our Bluetooth scan tool from Topdon. We've got the dongle in the OBD port. And now we can wirelessly scan this thing, get it all sorted. Super simple. This thing will auto search using the dongle. Check the VIN, then it'll automatically bring up everything you can do with the VIN on this car with the tool. Very, very handy, nice little tool, easy to work with. I've been loving it. Alright, so we're just doing a health report with the scan tool. As you can see, it's already brought up 3 codes related to the engine. So once it's done its scanning, we'll check what those codes are. Hopefully it points us in the direction of something very obvious. Hopefully this is a simple fix and get this thing back on the road. Righto guys, so these are our 3 codes for the engine. We've got a P1121, which is ETC ACTR. I'm not quite sure what that is. I'm going to actually have to look that one up. But these other 2 codes, PO223 and PO123, they're both throttle position circuits. So if this thing does have an issue with TPS, that definitely could be potentially causing this intermittent issue it has with running. So definitely somewhere to start looking is the TPS and the throttle. I don't believe these things are fly-by-wire. I'm pretty sure these are cable operated, which does make things a bit simpler. So we'll just have a look at the TPS sensor, and I'll Google that P1121. Alright guys, so a quick Google of the P1121, and it is actually when the PCM, the power control module, detects a malfunction in the throttle body which incorporates a stepper motor. So once again, a throttle body related code, or a throttle related code. So definitely seems to be where it's pointing at, so I'd say that's where we start looking. So I'll just try a few more things with this thing. I'll go through a few other of the modules on the tool and try and find some more information. But that's going to be a pretty good place to start, I'd say. So using the tool, you can actually generate a report based on the DTCs, which you can then email or print to PDF. It includes all of your business information and phone number and everything. So very, very handy little feature of this tool. Yes, very, very cool. Alright guys, so this is a very cool feature which I've only just realized works. So, got the codes up on our screen here for our engine. I didn't even have to use my phone for this. You could actually just hit this code. Hey, what is that? Let's tap it. Boom. Takes you to Google, gives you a full explanation of what the code is, or takes you to the relevant information where you can get the full explanation of what the code is. So that is very cool. I like it. So what I'm going to do at the moment is just clear these codes, restart the vehicle, see if they come back. Maybe someone had it disconnected at some point and it's got these codes in it, but maybe if I clear them, they won't come back. So could be a bit of a red herring. We'll clear them out and try it again. Well guys, after clearing the fault, we now have no engine light back, so hopefully that code doesn't come back. But as we were told by the person we bought it off, it is a bit of a random problem, so we will just have to wait and see what happens. So might unhook the spare battery. Hopefully it's been running long enough now that the alternator's charged it enough that it's got enough battery power, and I might just do a few laps around the shed and just see what happens after a few circles. Do just a little bit of driving. Alright guys, so some developments have been made. So this thing's been idling, just running now fine for, I don't know, over an hour, well over an hour. It's been just idling away. It doesn't shut down, doesn't do anything it shouldn't. It's been fine. So I decided, hey, it's idling, it's doing everything all right. Those codes haven't come back. I'll pump up the tires and I'll go for a drive down the road. So pump up the tires, go out the driveway. As soon as I put my foot down, as soon as you try and demand anything from it, it just dies. Just will not go. Go to put your foot down, just dying. Just dead. Not happy, not having it. So, I got to the end of the driveway. I backed all the way back up because it's so wet here at the moment that I didn't want to get off the driveway, because if I try and turn around off the driveway, I'll most likely get bogged. Anyway, when I finally got to a point of the driveway where I could turn around, I thought I'll flick it over to gas. I'll put it over to LPG and we'll see what happens. I put it over to LPG and came up to the shed, punched the throttle, boom, it's fine. Got all the go in the world with gas on. I believe that this LPG system must be set up to automatically revert to petrol when it gets empty, and I don't think there's enough LPG in the tank to really keep it on LPG for a super long period. But I managed, after a few quick laps and a few ons and off for the LPG system, I managed to get the LPG on and green for long enough to go up the road. And sure enough, on LPG, first, second, third, fourth, the thing just absolutely behaved absolutely as I would expect one to. It behaved absolutely normal, not a single issue. Turned around, and immediately after I turned around and I came back, I tried to punch it again, and the gas controller was yelling at me and flashing and stuff. So I believe that, you know, it's gone, hey, this gas is empty, I'm reverting back to petrol. And what do you know, straight away turned to shit again. So I believe that we have an issue with fuel supply, fuel demand. It would explain why I didn't want to start on petrol, but it would start on gas. Everything it's doing at the moment would point at the fact that we have a fueling issue. So at the moment we'll get a gauge and we'll get it in line in the fuel rail and try and confirm what the fuel pressure is doing, and pretty much go from there. So it could be something as simple as a fuel filter or a fuel pump, more likely a pump than a filter, to be doing what it's doing, how bad it's doing. It could be failing injectors. There's a number of things that it could be, but the main thing is that it looks as though it's a fuel issue and it's behaving like it's a fuel issue. So hopefully it's something that simple. That would be absolutely awesome if it was. Get this thing basically back on the road. As far as I'm concerned, all of the LPG stuff can go ASAP. I really have no want or need to keep it in the car. So as soon as I can find another tank to replace the LPG tank, either a factory one or I might even invest in a long range one if I can afford it. But I'm going to be removing all the LPG stuff from the car because it's really not worth keeping, I don't believe. Alright guys, so about 15 psi fuel pressure is probably not what you want. You probably want something a bit more than that. I'd say that's probably a bit low as far as fuel pressure goes.
It's a bit
It's pretty average.
good for economy maybe, but
not if you can't drive anywhere.
Yeah. What better economy are you gonna get? It costs nothing in fuel then.
So I think we'll probably start at a fuel pump. For it to be that low, I'd definitely be pointing or thinking more along the lines of a fuel pump issue than I would be of a filter blockage. I wouldn't expect a filter blockage or something to do that bad. Could be a failing regulator, but it's much more common for it to be a fuel pump, so I think we'll start there. So the only problem with this is that because the main tank has been replaced with the LPG tank, and that's the one that would normally have the window from inside the cab to get at the fuel pump hanger. So we can't do that from inside the car, which means that if there's a fuel, well, obviously there's a fuel pump in the sub tank, but the only way to change it is to actually drop the tank, which means we're probably gonna have to wait for a hoist, which means we're gonna have to wait till the big shady 80 over here is sorted out and out of here, because I'm gonna need that hoist to get this pump changed. Anyway guys, I'm gonna give the big girl a wash first, and then Rex is gonna put the super on the dyno, and then I'll actually back this in onto the concrete and get underneath and have a good look underneath. It actually looks like the tank that's in it already is a long range tank, which sort of would make sense if you were gonna put gas and then have a long range fuel tank as well. So it does make sense to me, which would be a score. That'd be awesome. Righto guys, so I had a bit of a minute this afternoon to try and get a few things sorted on this thing, or at least investigate. So I got a roadworthy for it. Managed to do the brake test and everything just on the LPG that was left, but it's like dead empty now. You cannot freaking drive the thing on LPG anymore. But I couldn't register it. They still want a gas certificate, which I didn't actually realize. I thought that as long as the gas was within 10 years, which is this month for the actual tank, I thought that was okay. I've never actually owned a car with LPG before, but apparently now to re-register a car or transfer a rego, at any point, you actually need a certificate. It needs to be certified. So anyway, I guess that is all fair enough. But at the end of the day, I've got no use for this LPG. There's no LPG even close to me that I can get. So if I'm gonna have to get it certified anyway, I'm going to get it certified for removal. So that's what's gonna happen. But anyway, the other day I was playing around with the head unit. I got my phone connected to it. It's all Bluetooth, obviously. Ooh, look at the flash on the GoPro. Woo. Anyway, basically, I found that it would play, my phone would connect and it would do everything it wanted to. No worries, but I have no sound. There is no sound in this thing. That's a CD playing at the moment. As you can see, it's actually playing through. No sound. So there was a few things when I was scanning it with the scan tool the other day. When I tried to do just a health check of the car, it would start scanning, it would scan the PCM fine, but then it would freeze at 27%, always at 27%, and it would not read the BCM. And even when I individually tried to read all of the modules, the BCM wouldn't read on that scan tool. And at first I thought maybe the BCM is just a protocol that the scan tool doesn't recognize. It doesn't recognize the, well actually that makes sense. I couldn't auto VIN scan it, but that makes sense. I'll get to it in a minute. Anyway, basically I could tell that the scan tool wouldn't read the BCM, and I just put it down to a communications error that the scan tool didn't work with the BCM. I'm still testing the scan tool over a lot of different cars to provide a bit of a review to the company. So far I'm actually finding it really good, but I'll get there in another video. But basically the scan tool wouldn't read the BCM, right? Now there's a few other things that I noticed that are a bit funny. We've got the central locking key here, as you can see, but none of the central locking works. The buttons definitely don't work, and when I actually lock the doors, some of them lock, some of them don't. And as far as the no music goes, I've pulled the radio out. That's what I did today. Pulled the head unit out to make sure that they're actually wired up, and they are. So the next thing is like, oh, well then it's killed the speakers, but how would it kill all 4 speakers at the same time? So that led me into just a bit more fault finding and investigating. Now, when it came to us like this, or came to me like this, and this kick panel was removed. So this kick panel, this is exactly how I received the vehicle. And upon doing some investigation, I thought this was just wet from me getting in and out, but if I feel under here, under this carpet, it's like fully drenched. It's freaking soaked. Like, feels like this thing might have been underwater. like in a flood. But filling around the carpet, around the rest of the car, obviously that doesn't seem to be the case at all. It all seems fine and smells good, and it's not wet around any of the other carpets. So it's not been underwater. But this right here behind the kick panel is the body control module. That's the BCM. Starting to piece together what's going on here, and what it appears to me is that it's leaking water somewhere, and the water's getting down in here into this driver's side kick panel, and I reckon it's killed this BCM. I reckon this BCM's cooked. I reckon that's why the scan tool wouldn't scan it, is because the BCM's cooked. I reckon if we got a correct BCM, the scan tool would probably read it fine. So yeah, I reckon that's cooked. And I reckon the BCM being cooked is why the speakers are all not working, and obviously why the central locking and stuff isn't working. Like all the windows and everything else works. So far I've not really seen or like had any other issues with anything, but it's definitely pointing towards that being the problem. So at this stage I'm pretty inclined to get another BCM. I need to do some research onto coding them and how they're coded, whether I can just chuck in another TB48 RE5 BCM from like the same year, and just it'll work, or whether it needs to be recoded, or what I need to do. But that is what appears to be the problem. Like all of the cluster, the dash seems to be working fine. Didn't have any issues with that when I went for a drive the other day. So anyway, that definitely appears to be what the issue is. So I need to do some real big investigation into basically this whole corner of the car. I need to pull the cowl off, like pull the wipers out, pull the cowl off, probably pull this guard off and have a real good look. There's a bit of a gap in the windscreen rubber up here, so I'm wondering if that might be the culprit, maybe. But like, I don't know. I need to pull the pillar off the inside, have a look in there. Basically, I need to do some real big investigating into where this water's getting in, because it does seem to be like this is soaked, but it does seem to be the only area of the car that is soaked. And you know, like I said, originally I put it down to just it's been wet for 3 months, and I've been getting in and out of the car and stuff around here, parking over puddles and stuff, so it's been moist. But getting my hand underneath this carpet, it is like moist, it's drenched. So there's definitely been water getting in. And yeah, I just did a quick Google, and that is the BCM behind that kick panel. So obviously someone's had the kick panel off to investigate what's going on already, and it definitely appears to be causing some issues. So that's where we're at with it. So I assume that this head unit has no issues at all. I assume that it's fine. And yeah, like I said, there's no way that I could assume that all of the speakers in the car went at the same time. So it's got to be something else to do with the body control, which it all makes sense. The old Sherlock Holmes situation. Investigationing makes sense. So anyway, I'm going to get this back together. We'll get this head unit back in. At the moment, it can stay in the car. Got no reason to change it right now. And I'll start doing some looking into getting another BCM and how we go about doing that, and whether we have to recode it and everything else. So yeah. Hopefully with that sorted, you know, all the central locking on the key and everything else works. That'd be awesome. So, and we'll retry the scan tool when we've got a working BCM, see if it'll actually scan through the car, auto recognize the VIN, and do everything else. So we'll see. Anyway guys, that'll do that for now. I'll start looking into what we can do about getting another BCM in the car and start testing some more things. Hopefully if I find a bit longer, hopefully it is as simple as just getting another one and putting it in. I really hope so, but we'll find out. So anyway, I'll leave you with that for now. Hopefully with a new one, we can scan it a bit better with that tool, and I can show you a bit more through that, and we can start really getting it sorted. We do wonder whether the fuel pump issue now is a secondary issue because of the BCM. I wonder if the BCM actually does control the fuel pump in some way, and perhaps putting another BCM in it, the fuel pump will come back, who knows? Guess we'll find out, hopefully. So we'll figure it out anyway. We'll get to the bottom of it, but it won't be this episode, it'll be the next one. Thanks for watching anyway, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Peace out, see you, bye.